Admiral Josephine Blackwood stood at the bridge of the ESS Hyperion, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied the holographic display before her. The massive ship, nearly 3 kilometers in length, represented humanity's finest achievement in space warfare, though they had never needed to use it. Until now. When the package was ready, Blackwood gave the order to transmit. The message shot across space, encoded in quantum frequencies that would make it impossible for the tribunal to ignore or misinterpret. The response came faster than expected. The tribunal's ships suddenly appeared at the edge of the solar system, clearly intending to intimidate. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by the previously invisible Earth defense fleet. Over 500 warships, each larger and more powerful than anything the tribunal had ever encountered, decloaked simultaneously. Message from the tribunal's flagship, Patil announced, unable to hide her satisfaction. On screen, Blackwood ordered. 3 alien faces appeared, each representing their respective empires. Their expressions, despite their alien features, clearly showed shock and fear. Impossible, the Ven representative hissed. Your world, your technology. Welcome to Earth, Admiral Blackwood said, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's combined military might. We believe you were planning to pay us a visit. Let's discuss your intentions regarding slavery, shall we? The transmission ended abruptly as the tribunal's ships began emergency maneuvers to retreat. Blackwood let them go. They would return to their empires with a message. Humanity was not only aware of the galaxy's greatest shame, but was now positioned to do something about it. Orders, Admiral. Zhao asked, watching the alien ships flee. Alert all commands, Blackwood said, her voice carrying across the bridge. Operation Liberation begins now. The galaxy has lived too long under the shadow of slavery. It's time humanity showed them a better way. As the alien ships disappeared into FTL, Earth's massive fleet began to move. The age of human isolation was over, and with it, the galaxy's acceptance of bondage and oppression. The tribunal had sought to enslave humanity. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant whose first act would be to break the chains they had placed on countless worlds. The war for galactic freedom was about to begin. Contact confirmed. Admiral, Lieutenant Raven Patil announced, her dark eyes fixed on the sensor readings. 3 distinct alien signatures, approximately 40 light-years from Sol. They're massive. A smile tugged at the corner of Blackwood's mouth. The aliens thought they were being subtle, but humanity had detected their probe ships months ago. The Earth Defense Fleet had simply chosen to remain quiet, gathering intelligence while the alien vessels believed they were undetected. Show me their fleet composition, Blackwood ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing 3 distinct vessel designs. The first was organic-looking, with sweeping lines and biomechanical components. The second appeared insectoid, with segmented hulls and sharp angles. The third was the most conventional, resembling traditional space vessels, but with an unmistakably alien aesthetic. Commander James Zhou, the Hyperion's tactical officer, cleared his throat. The intercepted communications suggest they call themselves the Tribunal. 3 separate species working together. The Ven, the Nexari, and the Mercantile Order. And their intentions. Blackwood already knew the answer, but she needed it on record. They're discussing invasion plans, Admiral. They believe Earth to be a pre-FTL civilization. Their scans didn't detect our quantum shielding or our orbital defense network. The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks. Humanity had mastered quantum mechanics decades ago, leading to technological advances that apparently surpassed these alien empires. Their stealth systems were so advanced that the Tribunal's primitive scanners couldn't even detect Earth's massive orbital ring or the fleet of warships stationed throughout the solar system. Additional intel coming in, Patil reported, her voice tight with controlled anger. They're slave traders, all 3 of them. They've conquered and enslaved dozens of species across the galaxy. They're discussing how to process Earth's population. Admiral Blackwood's expression hardened. Humanity had abolished slavery centuries ago, and the mere thought of it stirred something primal in their collective consciousness. Show me their estimated military strength. The holographic display updated again, showing the tribunal's combined fleet numbers. They were impressive by any standard, except humanity's, what they considered a dreadnought. Earth would classify as a light cruiser. Their weapon systems were based on primitive plasma technology, while humanity had mastered dark energy manipulation and quantum weaponry. Send the passive scan data to Fleet Command, Blackwood ordered, and prepare a first contact package. A first contact package? Zhao asked, surprised. Shouldn't we ready the fleet for defensive positions? Blackwood's smile returned, but this time it held no warmth. Oh, we'll defend ourselves, Commander. But first, we'll give them a chance to reconsider their plans. Proper protocol must be observed. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the crew prepared Earth's response. The first contact package was carefully crafted to appear non-threatening, while subtly demonstrating humanity's technological superiority. It included basic cultural information, scientific achievements, and a carefully edited history of Earth's military capabilities. When the package was ready, Blackwood gave the order to transmit. The message shot across space, encoded in quantum frequencies that would make it impossible for the tribunal to ignore or misinterpret. The response came faster than expected. The tribunal's ships suddenly appeared at the edge of the solar system, clearly intending to intimidate. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by the previously invisible Earth defense fleet. Over 500 warships, each larger and more powerful than anything the tribunal had ever encountered, decloaked simultaneously. Message from the tribunal's flagship, Patil announced, unable to hide her satisfaction. On screen, Blackwood ordered. 3 alien faces appeared, each representing their respective empires. Their expressions, despite their alien features, clearly showed shock and fear. Impossible, the Ven representative hissed. Your world, your technology. Welcome to Earth, Admiral Blackwood said, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's combined military might. We believe you were planning to pay us a visit. Let's discuss your intentions regarding slavery, shall we? The transmission ended abruptly as the tribunal's ships began emergency maneuvers to retreat. Blackwood let them go. They would return to their empires with a message. Humanity was not only aware of the galaxy's greatest shame, but was now positioned to do something about it. Orders, Admiral. Zhao asked, watching the alien ships flee. Alert all commands, Blackwood said, her voice carrying across the bridge. Operation Liberation begins now. The galaxy has lived too long under the shadow of slavery. It's time humanity showed them a better way. As the alien ships disappeared into FTL, Earth's massive fleet began to move. The age of human isolation was over, and with it, the galaxy's acceptance of bondage and oppression. The tribunal had sought to enslave humanity. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant whose first act would be to break the chains they had placed on countless worlds. The war for galactic freedom was about to begin. They're stalling, Director Isabella Reyes announced to the Earth Defense Council, her holographic form hovering above the circular table in United Earth headquarters beneath Mount Everest. The assembled military and civilian leaders studied the intelligence reports scrolling across their neural interfaces as she spoke. 3 months had passed since humanity's first contact with the tribunal. What followed was a careful dance of diplomacy, with the alien alliance attempting to paint their slave empire as a cultural misunderstanding, while secretly mobilizing their forces. Our deep cover probes have detected significant fleet movements in all 3 territories, Rice continued. The Ven are consolidating their bioships near their core worlds. The Nexari hives are producing combat drones at triple their normal rate. And the Mercantile Order, she paused, her expression grim. They're converting civilian ships to military vessels. Admiral Blackwood, attending via hologram from the Hyperion, nodded. They're preparing for war while their diplomats speak of peace. Classic misdirection. But they don't know about the Sentinel network. General Katsumi Tanaka added, a rare smile crossing his weathered face. The veteran of Earth's last global conflict had overseen the installation of humanity's greatest defense system. A web of quantum-linked satellites spanning the entire galaxy, hidden from conventional detection methods. Correct, Rise confirmed. Our surveillance indicates they believe their movements are undetected. The Tribunal's arrogance is their greatest weakness. They still can't accept that we've surpassed them technologically. The holographic display shifted to show the latest intelligence. Massive slave transport ships being moved to forward staging areas. Weapon systems being upgraded with what the Tribunal considered cutting-edge technology. And military exercises practicing invasion scenarios. What about the slave worlds? Council President Marcus Okonjo asked, his deep voice carrying the weight of humanity's moral imperative. How many people are we talking about? Conservative estimates put the number at 50 billion sentient beings across 300 worlds. Rise replied. The Ven used them primarily for manual labor in their bioengineering facilities. The Nexari, she hesitated. The Nexari used them as both workers and food sources. The mercantile order treats them as disposable commodities, trading them like cargo. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Humanity had long ago united under the principle that sentient rights were universal. The idea of slavery on such a massive scale was abhorrent to their very core. They'd rejected our final diplomatic proposal, Okonjo stated. Their counter-offer demands we recognize their traditional practices and establish a demilitarized zone, which would coincidentally prevent us from interfering with their slave trades. Of course they did, Blackwood said. They're counting on our supposed isolation and inexperience with galactic politics. They don't realize we've had years to prepare. The council members exchanged knowing looks. When humanity had first detected alien signals decades ago, they had chosen to remain silent, building up their forces and technology while studying the galaxy. The quantum breakthrough that allowed them to hide their civilization had been a blessing. It gave them time to prepare for exactly this scenario. Show them the invasion plans, Rice commanded. The holographic display transformed again, revealing detailed tactical analyses of the Tribunal's military capabilities. They're planning a three-pronged assault on the Sol system. The Ven will attack from Galactic North, using their bioships to overwhelm our defenses. The Nexari will strike from the east with swarm tactics. The Mercantile Order will approach from the south with their converted warships. And their estimated time of attack? Tanaka asked. 2 weeks, Rise answered. They're waiting for their solar alignment to optimize their FTL jumps. They still don't know we've mastered instant quantum transportation. President Okonjo stood, his decision made. We've given them every chance to change. We've offered aid, technology, and peaceful cooperation. Instead, they choose to cling to their barbaric practices and plan our enslavement. He looked at each council member in turn. The time for diplomacy is over. Operation Thunderstrike is ready, Blackwood reported. The Liberation Fleet is in position, cloaked and waiting. The moment they launch their invasion force, we'll trigger the quantum beacons we've planted in their shipyards. 300 ships will appear simultaneously in their supposedly secure systems. And the slave worlds? Okonjo pressed. Special forces are already on the ground, Rice confirmed. Disguised as slaves, they'd spent months organizing resistance cells and distributing quantum-shielded weapons. When we give the signal, 50 billion slaves will rise up simultaneously across 300 worlds. The council members nodded in approval. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about fundamental change in the galaxy. The Tribunal had mistaken humanity's peaceful overtures for weakness, their diplomatic patience for ignorance. They were about to learn that humans had mastered not just advanced technology, but also the art of strategic deception. Very well, Okonjo declared. Let the Tribunal continue their charade. Let them think their invasion plans are secret. Let them believe we're naive newcomers to galactic politics. He straightened his shoulders. In 2 weeks, they'll learn why humanity abolished slavery centuries ago, and why we'll never allow it to exist again. As the council session ended, Admiral Blackwood returned to the Hyperion's bridge. She watched the tactical display, showing the tribunal's forces moving into position, still believing they held the element of surprise. In 2 weeks, the galaxy would change forever. Humanity would not just defend itself, it would liberate a galaxy. The Alliance's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating human technology. It was assuming that humanity would stand idle while billions suffered in chains. They were about to learn otherwise. The next hour passed in tense silence as liberation forces consolidated their gains across tribunal space. Former slaves, armed with human weapons and burning with centuries of rage, secured planetary facilities. Earth warships maintained their positions, quantum weapons ready. With 10 minutes remaining in the ultimatum, the surrender transmissions began arriving. First from the mercantile order, ever practical in their self-interest. Then the Ven, their bioships already crippled by internal revolts. Finally, the Nexeri, their hive mind possibly for the first time experiencing fear. Orders, Admiral, Patil asked as the last surrender was confirmed. Blackwood stood, surveying the tactical display showing the liberation of 300 worlds. Send word to all forces. Operation Thunderstrike is complete. Phase 1 of galactic liberation is successful. She paused, watching as celebration signals began appearing across the display. Now the real work begins. The day humanity encountered the mysterious Great Three, they had found an empire of slavery and oppression. In less than 24 hours, they had broken that empire forever. But Blackwood knew this was just the beginning. Freeing slaves was one thing. Helping them build a new society would be another challenge entirely. But that, she thought, watching the jubilant signals multiply across the display, was a challenge humanity was ready to accept. 6 months after Operation Thunderstrike, the Galactic Liberation Council convened aboard the Hyperion. The once military vessel now served as a neutral meeting ground where representatives from formerly enslaved species could work together to build their future. Admiral Blackwood stood before the assembled delegates, each representing a different liberated species. The chamber was a testament to the diversity of galactic life. Crystalline beings pulsing with inner light sat next to methane-breathing giants, while energy-form entities hovered above silicon-based life forms. The transition reports are encouraging, she began, gesturing to the holographic data streaming around them. 87% of former slave worlds have established functioning provisional governments. The remaining 13% are receiving additional support and resources. Zixtal, a crystalline being who had once been forced to power Ven bioreactors, chimed with harmonious frequencies. My people have begun reconstructing our ancient archives. Knowledge we thought lost forever is being recovered. The Mercantile Order's data vaults proved invaluable, added Representative Envera, a towering methane breather whose species had been bred as living computers. They kept detailed records of everything they stole from us. Now we can reclaim our heritage. The success stories continued, but challenges remained. The tribunal's former leaders, now under house arrest in quantum-sealed facilities, had warned of chaos. Instead, they watched in disbelief as their former slaves built something unprecedented, a genuine alliance of free peoples. We face our greatest challenge yet, Blackwood continued. The outer regions of former tribunal space report increased pirate activity. Some former slave masters refuse to accept the new reality. They've established hidden enclaves, attempting to maintain their old ways. Let them try, growled Corell, a massive silicon-based being whose people had been worked to death in the Nexeri mines. We are no longer afraid. Humanity has shown us we need not live in fear. The chamber rumbled with agreement. Human technology had leveled the playing field, but it was the formerly enslaved species' determination that was reshaping the galaxy. Each race brought unique abilities and perspectives to the Alliance. The Liberation Front grows stronger each day. Blackwood nodded. Our combined fleet now includes ships crewed by 15 different species. The Quantum Link Network allows instant communication across former tribunal space. But most importantly, we're united in purpose. The holographic display shifted to show the latest breakthrough, a massive shipyard where humans worked alongside former slaves, teaching them to build their own quantum drive vessels. It was part of humanity's larger plan, not to create dependency, but to enable true independence. We've received concerning reports from beyond former tribunal space. Blackwood continued, her tone growing serious. Other slave-holding empires are watching. Some are considering preemptive strikes against liberation forces. Let them come. Envera's methane cloud swirled with determination. We know their weaknesses. Many of their slaves are already in contact with our underground network. The Liberation Front had evolved beyond anyone's expectations. What began as a human military operation had transformed into a movement that spread hope across the galaxy. Former slaves became liberators, reaching out to others still in bondage. Humanity's gift wasn't just technology. Zixtal chimed thoughtfully. You showed us that change was possible, that the future wasn't written by our masters. Blackwood looked across the chamber, seeing strength where once there had been chains. The tribunal had created an empire of oppression, believing their slaves broken beyond repair. Instead, they had forged bonds between species that now formed the foundation of something greater. We've received a transmission. Her voice carried across the chamber. A collective distress call from the Omega sector. 10 billion beings, held in slavery by the Crimson Concordat. They're asking for help. The chamber erupted in discussion. The Crimson Concordat was larger than the tribunal had been, their territory spanning multiple spiral arms. Challenging them would mean an even greater conflict. We put it to a vote, Blackwood announced. The Liberation Front's first major decision as a unified alliance. Do we extend our operations beyond former tribunal space? The vote was unanimous. In just 6 months, the formerly enslaved had become the liberators. The galaxy was changing, one freed world at a time. Very well, Blackwood nodded, feeling a fierce pride in how far they'd come. Operation Daybreak begins. The Liberation Front moves beyond former tribunal space. She looked at the assembled delegates, seeing not former slaves, but allies united in purpose. The galaxy is about to learn that freedom isn't just a human concept. It's a universal right, and we'll fight for it together. As the council session ended, Blackwood watched the delegates depart, each returning to their worlds to prepare for the next phase of liberation. The tribunal's greatest fear had come true. Not just that humanity would free their slaves, but that those freed beings would rise to become a force for change across the galaxy. The war for galactic freedom was expanding, and the Liberation Front was ready. The mysterious Great Three had unwittingly sparked something they could never have imagined, a future where all beings stood as equals, united in the cause of liberty. Would you like me to continue with the final part? 1 year after Operation Thunderstrike, the Liberation Front faced its ultimate test. The Crimson Concordat had marshaled its forces, combining its slave armies with mercenary fleets in a desperate bid to maintain the old order. The final battle for the galaxy's soul was about to begin. Admiral Blackwood stood on the Hyperion's bridge, now accompanied by commanders from 12 different species. The Liberation Front's combined fleet stretched across space, former slaves now commanding ships built with human quantum technology and their own recovered engineering knowledge. Concordat battle fleet detected. Lieutenant Patil announced. 5,000 ships approaching from multiple vectors. They're using slave-crewed vessels as shields. Typical. Corell rumbled from his reinforced command station. They hide behind those they oppress, even now. Quantum signatures confirmed. Zixtal chimed, their crystalline form pulsing with tactical data. They've copied some of our technology, but imperfectly. Their quantum drives are unstable. The enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace, a massive armada of disparate ships, united only by their dedication to preserving slavery. Their command channel broadcast across all frequencies. "This is High Marshal Vex of the Crimson Concordat," a harsh voice declared. "Your rebellion ends here. Surrender now, and your slaves will be treated with mercy." "They still don't understand," Envera observed, methane clouds swirling with amusement. "They think this is about humans freeing slaves. They don't realize we're all fighting for ourselves now." Blackwood nodded to her communications officer. "This is Admiral Blackwood of the Liberation Front. We have a message for your slave crews." She paused, looking at her allied commanders. "You are not alone. The codes are being transmitted now. Freedom is yours to take." Across the Concordat fleet, pre-planted quantum viruses activated, slave control collars deactivated, security systems failed, emergency bulkheads sealed, trapping slave masters in their quarters while their crews seized control. 30% of enemy fleet showing signs of internal rebellion, Paddle reported with satisfaction. "Their formation is breaking down." The tribunal made the same mistake. Blackwood addressed her bridge crew. "They thought slaves could be trusted if properly controlled. They never understood that you can chain a body, but not a mind. Not forever." The battle unfolded unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Concordat ships turned on each other as freed slaves fought their former masters. The Liberation Front's fleet moved with perfect coordination, their quantum-linked ships executing maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. "Enemy flagship detected," Zhao announced. "High Marshal Vex is attempting to retreat." "Not this time," Blackwood declared. "All ships, execute Operation Sunrise." The Liberation Front's fleet split into precisely coordinated groups, their movements choreographed through the quantum network. Former slaves who had once been worked to death in mines now commanded warships with the precision of veteran admirals. Species that had been bred for manual labor demonstrated strategic brilliance that shocked their former masters. The Concordat's fleet, already fractured by internal rebellions, couldn't match their coordination. Ships that remained loyal to the slave masters found themselves caught in an intricate web of quantum fields, their weapons nullified, their engines disabled. "High Marshal Vex is hailing us," Paddle reported. "On screen," Blackwood ordered. The alien leader appeared, his ornate uniform now disheveled. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Do you realize how many centuries of order you've destroyed?" "Order?" Carell laughed, the sound like grinding boulders. "Is that what you called it, while we died in your minds?" "The galaxy requires structure," Vex insisted. "These lesser beings are commanding the ships that have defeated you," Envera interrupted, their methane clouds darkening with contempt. "Your lesser beings have outfought, and outmaneuvered you." "The age of slavery is over," Blackwood declared. "The galaxy is changing. You can adapt, or you can follow the tribunal into historical irrelevance." As the last Concordat ships surrendered, Blackwood looked at her allied commanders. A year ago, they had been slaves. Now they stood as equals, having proven themselves in the crucible of battle. "Send word to all ships," she ordered. "Operation Sunrise is complete. The Liberation Front has achieved its primary objective." She paused, watching celebration signals light up across the quantum network. "But our work isn't finished. There are still beings in chains, worlds under oppression. The fight for freedom never truly ends." "No," Zixtal chimed thoughtfully, "but now we fight it together. Not as masters and slaves, not as liberators and liberated, but as equals." The bridge crew watched as freed ships joined their fleet, former slaves embracing their newfound liberty. The mysterious Great Three had thought they found an easy conquest when they encountered humanity. Instead, they had triggered a revolution that transformed the galaxy. The dawn of a new galaxy, Blackwood mused, watching the quantum network light up with signals from newly freed worlds. Not ruled by empires or slave masters, but united by the fundamental right of all beings to live free. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the galaxy itself celebrated the end of an age of darkness. Humanity's first contact with the mysterious Great Three had led not just to war, but to transformation. The future would bring new challenges, but they would face them together, not as separate species, but as a united front of free beings, each contributing their unique strengths to build something greater than any empire of slavery could imagine. The age of chains was over. The age of freedom had begun.